Hello everyone and welcome back to Jönköping in Sweden. This is of course DreamHack Winter and we've got the Faceit CSGO League season finale here. With me on the desk we are now rejoined by Vendetta, Janko, Thorin, and this is one of the more interesting games of the day for me, although the way things have been going, who knows. But Luminosity versus Fnatic, two new lineups going at it, some newer than others, even though Fnatic have made changes very recently. Luminosity seem to have upped the ante by changing players like 2-3 days just before the event. And of course, in recent history, the Brazilians have beaten Fnatic in best of ones, so it shouldn't be cut and dry, but do the new rosters just, throw it up for grabs?
The big problem here is the Fnatic roster. Yeah, I'm still not sure how it'll be because we're contrasting them to one of the best teams ever.
Yeah.
But I still think the pieces are there to still be very good and in many of the ways we expected before. The problem is, for Luminosity, I kind of agree with what Fiflaran was kind of alluding to when he was on the last segment, which is the big issue is I never looked at that team and was like, right, it's like stars and skills that's swinging them. What won them games before? The reason I used to chastise NA every time I brought up Luminosity is they had really good routine. You could tell they'd studied demos, they'd practiced, they'd drilled strats. Well, none of that applies now because you just changed 2 players and for your supportive players like 2 days before the event. So it feels like it's impossible to have any of that routine there. Not only that, but among the players you've kept, coldzera's reasonably new himself anyway. So it feels like there's too many moving parts here and they won't have any of the identity of the old Luminosity. So at this point, they probably have to frag. And that's probably the one area you don't want to go up against a Fnatic that just added Dennis in. So I'm not feeling Luminosity at all for this game.
Well, I'll get your thoughts in just a second, gentlemen. Now we need to go over to the stage, and Parla's got Fallen and Olaf Meister there for an interview.
Fallen, Olaf Meister, this is a very interesting matchup, just like my colleagues said. What are your initial thoughts going into it?
It's going to be pretty difficult. It's always like this against Fnatic. And this is our first match together, so I just hope we can start well.
Yeah, so let's talk a bit about that before I move on to Olaf. You've just swapped out 2 players. How's the team coming together with this new composition? Because you've said to me just off stage, you've had barely any time as of yet to really get into practicing together.
Yeah, we didn't have any time to practice yet because the changes are pretty recently. But we knew each other for a long time and playing with NX since 2009. And maybe there is some gimmick between ourselves. Let's see this game.
Yeah, they're by no means like no-name players. They are players with a history. I'm not exactly sure of it myself, but maybe you could give a bit of background on both of them just quickly for anyone watching who wants to know.
Yeah, FNX is playing way before me. I mean, he was playing internationally since 2006 in 1.6 era. And Taco is pretty new player since he used to play with coldzera. So let's see how they're going to perform today.
Wicked. You've got a couple fans in the crowd as well with the Brazilian flag, which is always awesome. Talking about fans and playing in places where a lot of people love you, this is again technically a home match for you guys because it's Sweden, but NiP just have had an amazing victory. Are you hoping to follow in their footsteps maybe?
Yeah, of course. You always want to win at your home country, so of course, yeah.
You have an interesting history playing against these guys. You lost 1 best of 1 in the major. I mean, how does that factor into this matchup here? Like, do you think about it, or do you just know we're super confident we're going to try to go straight through them?
Of course, we think about it. We know what we did wrong, and we're not going to do it again.
Talking about roster changes as well, you guys now have Dennis. Pronax left the team, and now you're working with Dennis, who was formerly on G2, and you are actually very good friends with Dennis. Is it nice to have him on the team? How's that all going?
Well, everything is a bit new right now, so we have, and I haven't played with Dennis for a very long time in a team, so we have some stuff we work on, and for every game, we learn something new that, okay, you want to play like this, and I want to play like, you learn every game, but of course it's really fun. It's one of our best friends, so I'm really happy.
Great. Best of 1 format. I'm going to get your opinion, both of your opinions on it. Does it, in a situation like this, again, where you have struggled with a best of 1 format before, is it something now that you're more comfortable coming up against them in that sort of format?
It doesn't matter who you play against. I never like to play best of 1.
Okay, fantastic. And what about yourself, Fallen? Because you guys are often criticized for lacking the consistency in best of 3 formats, but then having kind of spectacular upsets in best of 1s.
I don't know why we had struggled so much on best of 3 matches. We hope with this new lineup we can get over it. But today it's best of one, it's group stage, and I'm ready to beat Alof, hopefully.
Great, guys. Thanks so much for your time. If you want to shake hands, head off. Great respect between these two guys. So best of luck to both of them. Thank you, audience. We're going to head back over to the desk.
So there we have it. So it's interesting. Obviously, they have both made these lineup changes for very different reasons, actually. I think Olaf Meister kind of alluded to it a little bit there, where he talked about how he was very friendly with Dennis, and it felt it was going to give him a better atmosphere in the team as a result of that relationship. Whereas I talked to Fallen. I actually traveled over here with Fallen. We were all in the DreamHack bus together. We were talking a little bit about it, and he said we just kind of reached the point where we kept losing matches in the same way. You know, it was 16-14, 16-13. We couldn't close out a series. It was a really hard decision. We didn't want to do it based on the chemistry we had with the players and how well we got along, but we had no other choice. So I'll bring you guys into the discussion here. Who do you think's got the better of the roster changes in terms of how it's going to affect the team?
Well, obviously I think Luminosity has more to gain from it because, as you said, they were stagnating. Fnatic have pretty much everything to lose because they were, well, it's, you know, Thorn has documented this pretty well in all of his articles. That previous Fnatic lineup is the best CS lineup you've had.
Yeah.
Most successful one. So it's kind of hard to top that. And therefore they have more to lose. But I still think that a Fnatic team with Dennis can be immensely successful just because they have that kind of firepower, which, you know, nothing against Pronex, but he doesn't possess the same individual skill as Dennis does. So that's going to be a really interesting thing to see how they gel and how they actually perform, because they can easily have down days in terms of, you know, they could be getting edge-threaded or not have their executions go perfectly, but now they have something extra to fall back on with just having every single player on that team being able to potentially win, you know, a 1v4 situation, that type of thing. So it's going to be really fun to see.
And Janko, some thoughts from you?
I understand that Luminosity needed to change something. I just disagree with the timing.
Yeah.
I mean, you do it a day, basically 2 days before a tournament, that those players you actually dropped actually helped to qualify for it. I mean, you know, as well, I completely agree with Duncan that they're a team who, you know, rely on their strategies a lot. They're really methodical. Now switching up 2 players who haven't played at this level, like Tier 1 level. They recently moved to NA with that Games Academy team, started competing there, but you can't really compare it to a tournament of this magnitude. As about Fnatic, I think that Dennis is one of my favorite players to watch. I really respect him a lot. I think he's an extremely skilled and smart player. Has great aim, like a complete player in my opinion. It's too early to tell, like, or to see how their play style is going to change or anything. I think that the question mark for them is the fact that Flasha now has to switch to calling. How is it going to influence their game? Are they going to take a hit on the tactical aspect of the game? Because certainly now on the firepower aspect, they are much stronger than they were with Pronex.
That's one of the things people might not know, though, actually, in terms of like the extent of what's happened in Fnatic, is that it's not just that Pronex is like, oh, I'm just going to step down, and like everyone's like, oh, so sad in Fnatic, oh, we wish he was still here. There was rumblings that actually people inside the team, they didn't agree with the way Pronex was leading the team towards the end, or they thought that style didn't work anymore, and they were the ones pushing for Flusher to be the in-game leader. And even though on the surface, you looked at every time he was the in-game leader, it didn't really usually come off that well. They preferred that style of in-game leadership, so it's not as though they'd been forced into this situation. In many ways, the team's kind of opted to go this route, and then they want to bring in someone they know, Dennis, who's played with Crims before, he's played with Olaf Meister. This is the route they actually actively choosing to go. It's not like they were just forced into a corner because of Pronex retiring.
Well, let's see if the boys from Brazil, if they were particularly forced into a corner. Now, Duncan, tell us about these players again from left to right.
So on the very left, we have Fair, who when this team first came along as Kaboom and then Keat Stars, he really was like the one-man army. He was the guy who was carrying games, and he was a big reason as to why they could get those crazy single-mark upsets. Then we next to him had one of the new guys, Taco, and he's one of these guys who he's coming in and he has the least experience, the least exposure of any of the names in this list. You couldn't look at any of his past teams and say, right, this is a player where, oh, he was always on the cards to come into a team. This is the shock, I think, that this player's been brought in. Then in the middle you had Cold Zero, which was interesting because usually you sit the in-game leader in the middle of in the middle of the team, which makes me wonder who actually is the in-game leader of this team at the moment. Do we know?
I would imagine still Fallen.
I still think Fallen's going to be
interesting that they would set up the team layout like that. So coldzera's the guy where, interestingly, when he came into the lineup and I saw him having these great breakout games, I was like, right, if him and Fur are both going off in both games, suddenly they're like a skill-based team as well. But actually, in a weird way, it seems like he took over being the Fur. He was the guy, just the one-man army every game carrying. And actually, it feels like Fur fell off a little bit. I'm not sure if it's because they adjusted roles or just the dynamic of having less space as a star player, you know?
Well, coldzera is also one of the players who also is able to use the sniper rifle. So he can command a lot of space and pretty much go very freely all around on both sides of the map, both CT and T side. And I think that might just limit the amount of space that Fur is getting. And maybe he has to play on other strengths, which coldzera might not be as good at, but you can be very versatile with where you put coldzera, and that might limit the opportunities that Fur is given. But for the most part, it's working out pretty well for Luminosity so far, and I mean, it could still work really well because they are putting in, with the exception of Taco, they bring in FNX, who's probably one of the most experienced Brazilian players of all time.
Yeah.
The thing is, I mean, I think after that it was Fallen. I don't have a graphic because the production team think that I can just photographically memorize everything. So afterwards I'll be going backstage to ask them to recite pi to 700 digits, otherwise they'll be fired. I think it was Fallen at that point who was the in-game leader, and obviously he's been taking over. You saw in the latter era of sniping more and more, and it's been quite effective at times. So he's a legendary Brazilian player. But actually, interestingly, when you call him a legend, there's different stages of being a legend even. There's a legend where you're very well remembered or you're an excellent player. In his case, he was an excellent player, that's the thing. He didn't have that many great accomplishments though. FNX, the guy they've brought in CS 1.6, he was probably the second best Brazilian player of all time. This is a guy who's won a major ESWC, the World Championship, had many, many big accomplishments. And the thing was, he was kind of like a streaky rifler. Like I would compare him to like a Bialy nowadays. He's like when his aim was on, he'd get like the 3 crazy kills, but it's more like you just had to ride out the storm and wait for him to be really on point. In CSGO, he hasn't been that sort of player. He's been decent. And so even though Fallen kind of alluded to like, listen, we've got this past chemistry there, that was in a totally different game, and we're talking like 4 years ago. The difference is when you bring Dennis in, he has chemistry with Olofmeister and Crims from CSGO and only a year and a half ago. So I think it's a little bit disingenuous to think that they're both the same thing there, but obviously he is someone with experience playing at the top level.
We'll take a look at the Fnatic roster. We'll just bring that up. Sorry, Van, do make your point.
No, it's just that FNX has played CSGO for a while as well, because if you go back maybe like 1.5 years when you still had Team Target Down, which is basically the CSS guys from Brazil, and Kaboom, you had FNX playing with some of those guys in show matches from Brazil, and he was actually doing pretty well for himself in terms of fragging. So I'm expecting him to not really be that far behind the rest of the guys in Luminosity.
So you can see, obviously, the Fnatic lineup. It's not a lineup that needs a lot of introduction. Obviously, the #1 team of all time. But Olofmeister there on the left. We move across. You can see Dennis, the new boy. Obviously, does have previous of having played in LGB with those guys at Olofmeister and Crims. And Flushit in the middle, confirming his in-game leader status. This is a player who, when he does tend to lead in-game, seems to impact on his performance. An amazing player who's very prescient, seems to know where everybody is, can read the game like almost no one else can, but can he do it for 4 other people plus himself? I think the jury is still out on that one. Then you have JW, of course, the AWPer, who hasn't really been all that consistent, and then, of course, Crims, Mr. Consistent on the end. And now you can see from the veto, I think we've got a cracker here. Duncan, talk us through what this means.
Yeah, the thing with Fnatic, a trend that they've now stuck with, is they were one of the best teams, because they had nearly every map, they would specifically target ban. That's what they would do with their bans. So you see here, they're taking out Overpass. That's a map that actually Fnatic have been strong on in the past, but we know Luminosity is good on it. They take out Cash because Luminosity's had some particularly good games on that, and that's one that was weaker recently for Fnatic. I think it's interesting they took out Cobble, because actually I think Fnatic is a very strong Cobble team still. Yeah. So that's kind of a bit of an upset for me there. Over on the Luminosity side of things, they actually did well at Sivo on train at times, but I can see why they take that out, because Fnatic's a little bit more dangerous there. Mirage is a very interesting ban, because we think of that traditionally as one of the best. That was what made the Luminosity name back when they were Kaboom and then Keat Stars. Yeah. And then the Inferno ban also, that's another map.
They've been getting worse on Mirage lately, though.
Well, yeah, but the Inferno veto for me is the strangest one. Yeah. But I guess going back to what we spoke on earlier in this segment is the fact that Luminosity has been a team that has gotten results because they're structured, well-trained, and practiced, which they don't have now, because they did beat Fnatic on Inferno.
Yeah.
in the last best of one. So kind of surprising, but that might be because of the lineup changes.
So we've got the 90-second warning, guys. 30 seconds each. Give me a prediction. Start me, Ivan.
I'm going to go with Fnatic. I think the roster changes are going to be too big of an issue for Luminosity right now. So 16-9 in favor of Fnatic.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that the sheer amount of firepower they have right now with Dennis is going to lead them to victory. I'll say something like 16-8 for Fnatic.
We've got the right map for two new rosters. Dust 2.
Yeah, this is what you want.
Teams that like to play Dust 2. I think this is going to be a big Fnatic win. I think they've got the better end of the firepower and the core unit still.
Okay, well, we'll see if you're right. Obviously, we haven't been right a lot
Have to be eventually, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Have to be eventually. I still get
Anyway,
paid no
we're
matter
going to
what,
go
don't
over
worry.
to our casters. It's going to be the sensational Stuart Saw, a.k.a. Tosspot, and he's with Fifth Laren. Take it away, boys.
Thank you very much, Richard. Fifth Laren, a pleasure to be sat next to you. I feel like I've not sat next to you in a very long time. It's a great game to be casting with you. Talk to us about, it was a point that Thorin brought up right at the end there, the map choice given that we have two new rosters today.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, especially for Luminosity, Dust 2 is a mixed map, right? You have two new players, just end up switching 2 days ago. You don't have any tactics, you have nothing. You just have to rely on your raw skill, and then Dust 2 is probably the perfect map for that.
And thought process of changing the roster 2 days before. You couldn't get through that next event. We've heard many a rumor of, oh, this team's going to break up after this event and so on. How many times this year have you heard of an established name that's going to break up? They stick it out to the next event, and they actually have a good result, and they stick together there afterwards. Why so soon before such a big event?
I don't know, that's what I was thinking about as well. It doesn't really make any sense. You can actually afford to do it after, because then it gives you more time. What happens now, essentially, is that you come in here. Well, I guess the way that they saw it is that we can't do any worse. If we end up changing, we might still go out in last place or whatever.
But if you can't bear to be with someone for 1 extra week,
I don't think it was ever a problem, you know, in terms of actually liking one another. I just think that them making a change right before the tournament was just about their past results. And then keep in mind, these are the guys that actually made it out of the groups in the major. They especially in best of ones as well, they're always a really good solid team on a best of one rule set. But then when it comes to the best of three, I don't think they probably never won a best of three versus a top European team.
Who's the player you're looking forward to watch on this and why?
I'm gonna say Dennis from Fnatic, because Dennis is a new player. Dennis has always been very solid, probably one of the better players in Sweden, especially in Europe. And then for Luminosity, I think that Cold will always be the guy that shows up for Luminosity. He's their star player, Fallen obviously with doing the main opping. I've actually never seen Taco play. I just when I saw his nickname, I just wanted tacos.
Well, there you go. There's no Taco Bell in Sweden, I'm afraid.
No.
But you saw the Brazilian fans there that have traveled, I don't know how far, or probably local Brazilians rather than just ones who've gone.
Yeah, you know, we have people from different countries in Sweden, Stuart.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Not just Swedish people.
Oh, thank you for pointing that out. Right, on that note of semi-awkward, let's get this underway as we are live on Dust 2 with Fifth Laren and Tosspot. Here is Fnatic take on Luminosity. And last thing I didn't ask you was who's going to win it?
Fnatic.
Want to think about that for more than a second?
No.
Here we go. On board with Flasher, who's about to see action, is that he will find straight away FNX, and he and Olofmeister will go to work. Fallen goes down. Fnatic are 2 men to the good as Dennis watches the catwalk. Taco puts to work on that bomb and gets it down, gets a frag onto Flusher before Olofmeister comes in on Colvira and goes in. Taco, a lone wolf in that bomb site. Olofmeister collects frag number 3. It is fur or bust for Luminosity, and he will go no further. Oh, what a pun.
Oh God, I'm done. We're done. It's been 1 round, and Stuart has already made like 3. 3. Oh God. Okay.
There's a place for horrendous puns in esports, and I'm that place.
Yeah, I like it. I actually do. I really like it. For Luminosity, very fast push out on a long. Had 2 smokes and 2 flashbangs each, or 1 smoke and 2 flashbangs each. Actually worked out for them. They hit the A bomb site pretty well. They just couldn't hold it, and Olofmeister with a great 4-kill.
Yeah, there are some things you just can't really budget for, and Olofmeister is one of them. And we're going to run that same route once again, and this time it will be Dennis who helps himself to a hatful of frags. Might make it all 5, in fact, here, but no, Fallen will prevent the ace, and it'll be Olofmeister to clean up. And that is Fnatic making light work of converting that pistol round win.
Yeah, and we're gonna see the first weapon round from Luminosity coming in here. You saw that, I mean, the first 2 rounds was just flash out long and see what happens. Now Fnatic actually were contesting long this round and Luminosity just got shut down. So will be fun to see here. You see Luminosity with all 5 smoke grenades, have a few flashbangs, not really that much to work with. You're not going to see an op on Fallen. But same for Fnatic. I mean, JW is still using the SMG and all of Meister kept the rifle, so.
Here we go, Vera nading over towards that A site, which will be followed in by Taco, leading the charge. We're on board with Taco once more as he will use that smoke for cover as he charges on towards Flusher's position. He's been able to advance a long way on towards that site. Dennis has been occupied as well by Fallen, more so than just occupied, but Flusher comes in with 2 frags. Olafmeister helps himself to 2 of his own, and there is but 1 Brazilian left standing as Fallen on long A goes up against 4 Fnatic players. And will not make it past Flusher. And those A assaults haven't really borne fruit just yet.
No, I mean, all 3 rounds now essentially has been very fast on towards the A bomb side and less than 20 seconds before they even hit the site on all 3 occasions. This is what I'm talking about. When you have 2 new players and you switch the day before the tournament, what are you going to do? Like, you can sit there and you can talk about it before the day before. It's like, okay, what are we going to do? In reality, you're not going to get anything out of it. So then you're forced to do plays like these, but you're not even working to Luminosity's strengths, which is, or even the individual skill. You're just rushing right now. And what's the point? You're playing against a team that you have 4 core players. They know how to flash for a person. They know how to stop a bomb or a rush. You have to rely on your pure skill, and you're not doing that right now.
Well, I'll come to you about that pure skill on that Luminosity side and ask you about FNX after this round, as Luminosity have picked themselves up the frag of JW over on B moments ago. This being the first round, they've not really just charged in and have done damage to Crims as they continue to poke around in that B bomb site. FNX, the man who will retreat, and Luminosity side try to see if they can create an opening, and they'll want to get that bomb down and take the money in the bank forward, if nothing else. 2 players now beginning to make their way towards A, and a combo of Flusher and Dennis dispatch to Colvera, and looks like Flusher will help himself to 1 more. No, Dennis comes in and takes them off his toes, and there is but 1 Brazilian left standing. 4-0 to Fnatic. FNX, the biggest name to join that roster of Luminosity. Do you ever play against him?
Yes, back in Source actually, when he first moved over to playing the CGS. The first ever, I think they were probably the first team. We were the first team that I ever played with versus FNX, and he was a monster even from day 1. Like so good, like individually in terms of aim. I don't really know if it's transitioned in like onto CS:GO. He used to play for Games Academy, but then again, they're playing NA teams.
Dennis picks up that frag onto Taco, and for the Luminosity side, they're struggling all around. Points you made earlier in terms of not really having a strat book to run, but more so, they're not picking up an entry frag, and they're not creating openings for them to defend thereafter either.
Yeah, I mean, Fnatic did a good job there in the first 3 rounds. They just pushed, and now the Fnatic decided to push Catwalk and double nade down in lower tunnel. Worked out, and then there you actually, this is the first round Luminosity is trying to get some map control and just ended up losing the entry straight off the bat, so now they're in the deficit.
4 players ready to lead the assault in towards that A site, and it will be Crims to defend that charge. His flash does its job, and it'll be FNX who goes down first. Crims looking for more, another player's come down. Dennis will have spotted 1, and Olafmeister picks up Colvera. Dennis with frag number 2 for him. Fur's gone, and it is now just Fallen and his AWP to keep Luminosity in round number 5. He does get himself the first. It's Dennis to go down. Only 3 more as he will make his way in towards that site. Oh, window of opportunity for the frag onto Flusher, but wasn't to be. And that will be Fnatic 5, Luminosity 0.
Yeah, again, we saw, well, a little bit slower, but it was still essentially an A push with all 4 remaining members for Luminosity just trying to hit Catwalk. Even if you're a mix and you're playing this without any tactics, it's quite easy though to just at least try to control your players a little bit. So yeah, you lose a man, you're 4 versus 5, you can B split, maybe send 1 back to long, so you have 3 guys going Catwalk and just 1 flanking long, because initially you saw there, Dennis rotated right away to help him on Catwalk. There was no one really covering long. So if you manage to do that, then you could essentially just get the bomb site for free when you have that guy backstabbing.
So you're saying they're playing worse than a mix?
I'm saying they're not really I'm saying that there's improvements to be made, even though it's a mix.
Not trying to get you in trouble at all here, Robin.
It's okay. I'm already in trouble.
What did you do?
I need a spanking, Stuart. Oh, producer just told us that we're both fired?
Yeah, this will be the last game ever for Fiflaren and Tosspot, but it's been fun. We're going to go out with a bang. As Fallen will lead the Luminosity push through mid. Flusher is the one who will be waiting for them, and they're going to try and occupy JW in that AWP, because otherwise it will be free reign for him in just a second. Flusher spots them and follows them with 2 frags. Make that 3. Say goodnight to Luminosity's assault. Flusher has 4. Crims takes the 5th. And talk to us, Fiflaren, about how that was worse than the mix.
Yeah, well, there you actually saw, they actually did try to have to do a B split. You saw 4 members from Luminosity trying to go out mid, and they didn't see anyone, so they just end up smoking CT spawn. And that's what I was talking about, just when Luminosity was trying to hit A, that anti-flash, you saw that same thing here. A Fnatic member just flashed out Flusher, 4 kills. That's why when you do a B split like that, you want to make sure that you take control from both areas, so they don't know where to actually, you know, try to contest the area with. Now you didn't see that, just 4 out members. Flusher obviously just wrecks.
It's a trap.
It is a trap.
Olofmeister pushing a long way around A, and he is going to go hunting for Luminosity players. He's already charged all the way around the back of spawn. He'll come up on the bomb carrier in just a second. And this Luminosity attack has been sighted. And there it is. I have a feeling Colby may have just heard the drop noise there from Olofmeister, but regardless, Olofmeister helping himself to frag after frag. And actually, this is kind of exactly how you play against the mix. As the confidence is there for this Fnatic side that they have them just wedged in. And that a perfect round, barely a slither of damage done. And Luminosity call a pause at 7-0 down. What would you be saying on those comms right now?
We need to win a round.
Excellent. It's that type of inspiration that I'm sure the NAP guys drew upon for all those years.
Look, I'll tell you this, Stuart. Let's say that you and I we're playing right now. We have 3 plebs that we're playing with. I'm calling. Guys, we're down 7-0. We probably need to spread out a little bit because Olofmeister just pushed us from long and we had no one covering that. Okay, so Stuart, you're going to cover B tunnel. We have pleb number 1. You're covering long. The rest, the 3 of us, we're going to smoke down middle. We're going to take over catwalk, so we gain some map control. The other 2, you just sit there, you watch, wait for them, and then if they end up coming, then you kill them, and that we will have a 5-on-4 situation, and you play. And how hard is that? Damn, done. You know, there you go. And then obviously, eventually, you have to actually kill people to win a round. But that's a start. It's a good start, a good fundamental. Just a regular standard round in Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and you're all set. You don't even need a flashbang for it. Just smoke down middle, maybe flash up cat if you want. Nothing necessary.
But there has to be a reason, given you're trying to say how simple it could be. There has to be a reason they're not doing it. They must be trying something else or what. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Please devil that advocate here.
I mean, okay, so obviously, I think that their mindset coming into it was, well, they know that we're a new team. They know that we're not going to have that much to work with. Let's just try and catch them off guard. Let's just try to go a little bit more aggressive in the early stages of the half, see if it works. And then now you see that it hasn't really worked out. So then you saw the regular standard round coming in from Luminosity, ended up losing the entry. And then they actually did a B split, but it was on a 4 spy with just 1 scout and Tech 9s. Now they actually have, you see here again, it's Tech 9s and just a few smokes again. I wouldn't really count on them winning this one particular round. Well, it's for the next round coming in. That's when you want to actually then you have more options because you will have the rifles, you will have more nades, you will have more flashes, and then you can actually. So what they've been doing right now is when the times that they've actually had weapons, they've just pushed catwalk, right? They haven't tried to split it. They haven't gone out long, for example, with proper nades and proper weapons. They just did it on an eco. You can try that again. Try to get some map control. And I mean, the easiest part, especially if you are a mix or you're just a new team, is to take mid control, because that's the easiest one, because it's very rarely it's going to be contested.
So what you're saying is they have a chance.
There's always a chance to it.
I just think the resentment that's coming from you is all to do with the fact that FNX is back and he's got cooler tattoos than you, but I could be wrong.
I actually missed it. I was too busy looking at used to it.
It's super cool, trust me. I sit next to yours every day. These ones are much better. Anyway.
I mean, I don't like sitting next to you. We're getting divorced.
If you didn't know, Robin and I sit next to each other at work every day. Hence why he doesn't like me that much.
You start saying chips instead of crisps. I have a lot of secrets about you. You're turning American.
Anyway,
here we actually see, I actually like this. So now, as I was saying, they have one guy long, just making sure they don't push. They have one B tunnel, just make sure. And they have catwalk control now as well. So now initially, you have a lot of options. You can split B. You see there, you do have the member from the Nazi moving back. So it looks to be like a catwalk push once again. But now at least you have that guy long. It's very important for this guy now to just stay stationed. Once you get, if he ends up getting Dennis, that's when you rush out and you try and flank them on the A bomb side.
let's see if Luminosity follow the fifth layer and call to action. They are positioned to try and grab this opening frag, something they've barely been able to do in this match, and it's Offmeister who's going to try and stop them, and does so as Fallen just walks onto the end of his crosshair. And for all their huff and puff, they won't get past that first hurdle. Though Dennis down, Fur has that one, and now suddenly Colby has the second one as well. We're at a 3-on-3 as JW has leveled up the numbers here, but JW being pressed up on that A site is forced to look for the next round coming in from Catwalk, and FNX down by Olafmeister, but 2 frags come in, and LG have got control of that site just about in the shape of Fur, but the clock has run down, and it will be Fnatic who, for the first time, pressed, but in the end, were able to run down that.
Yeah, actually, Fur team killed his own teammate there. They had A control, and he ended up just killing him as they were killing Flush on the A ramp. Again, Fur, as we were talking about, he was actually stationed along. He gets Dennis. Instead of pushing out, he decided to rotate back. What happens is that Flusha has all the time in the world to just kill people on the A bomb side instead of just helping out because he was stuck.
And it is Lambs to the slaughter coming out A-long there as Fallen and Taco fall down in a painful fire. And the B assault will follow. And it'll be Crims who ensures it goes no further with frags onto Fur and Cold B. Only FNX left standing. And he isn't standing anymore. 10-0. This one is going pretty quickly.
Yeah. I have no words. No, actually I do. I have plenty. I told you guys it was going to happen. Told you.
The Brazilian fans still finding their voice, though. They are holding on. But the truth is, this is more like Germany versus Brazil in the World Cup semifinals than anything else.
I mean, just to... now we're just basically bashing on Luminosity or High have. As for Fnatic are actually playing really well so far. Now, sure, Luminosity haven't actually been doing that much in terms of strategical, but Fnatic, they seem to have the teamwork put down.
Talk me through what we just saw from Olafmeister there.
Straight down, got 2, headshots, bang. No, but like, yeah, Fnatic, I mean, Fnatic has always been a very good individual team. You have all these players, and then when they ended up replacing Pronax with Dennis, it just added more firepower. I mean, the problem, what everyone was wondering is that will they keep the same strategical approach, or will they actually move on to maybe be a more, kind of like how Envious is, when they don't actually have that much strats, they just rely on heavy skill, especially now on the CT side. I mean, it doesn't really require that much tactical approach on their CT side. You just have to know your positions. If you work well together, maybe some more teamwork, you know, a flashbang, help them out, blah, blah, blah. But essentially, in reality, it's just about individual play, right? And that's what Fnatic are showing us here today.
Fnatic up 11-0 and are making a real statement here against the LG side, who still have a bit to learn together. As we spy Taco making his way up towards that A site with reinforcements behind, but only a hatful of weapons across that LG arsenal.
And we're going to see the same thing again. I mean, we have, actually now he rotates back from long. Is he going to make up his mind? It looks to me, I mean, Bomb is moving towards upper tunnels. It's going to be a B-split here. I just hope they can have some more, you know, some more communication when you actually hit the site now. So when you do smoke out middle, that you actually make some noise in on the upper B tunnels as well. So you actually keep JW stationed the way he was right now. Because if you don't, then all focus will just be in securing the middle area, and then by then it's too late. You're all alone with the bomb in B tunnels, right?
Well, here comes the push in the middle. Olafmeister has been pushed back, lost a little bit of health too, but Krems will join the party and picks himself up the frag onto FNX. JW downs Fallen, and it is exactly what Fifth Laren called. All hell breaks loose until finally Colvira can put something on the board, but it is replied too quickly, and Fur is... It's like that last man in the rock that has to go up into Alcatraz. He goes up because he knows that all of his team are dead, but you know he's going to die, leaving just good speed and
That's
Sean
so
Connery to run
dark,
away.
dude. It's so dark. Yeah, again, we saw there, I mean, yeah, Fallen ended up actually being taken down by JW. I actually didn't pay attention too much if he actually used, if he smoked himself off, tried to smoke plat, and he just rushed in to just create more of a ruckus for Flusha that was shooting people in mid. But yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, Fnatic, they're playing really, really good Counter-Strike on the CT side right now. They're playing well together. Good counter flashes coming in, just overall playing good individual Counter-Strike.
Here we go. The A bomb side is about to be property of Luminosity. Bit of an aggressive defensive layup from Fnatic allowed them.
Is this their first plant?
Planted on the very first round.
And that's it?
However, Fnatic now looking to retake that site. Have taken down Taco as well as Fallen. They're on a 5-on-3 retake here. FNX looking to hold on with all that he's got. Does take damage in the process, but Dennis goes down. JW follows suit. Olofmeister on the ball onto FNX now as Fnatic execute the final place of the retake to some aplomb and will now get that defused. And that will be lucky number 13 for the boys from Sweden.
Yeah, and I mean, again, not much to say. Fnatic with the retake. Luminosity got kind of stuck on the A bomb site there where you had 2 on A ramp. You couldn't really do that much anyway because for Fnatic, that extra flash there, and great job by Flusha. Getting the bomb down, and that's the thing about Fnatic's approach there on that round is that you just like go away and just decide to go retake. And Luminosity only had 1 or 2 guys waiting on Catwalk, end up going down, and then essentially, since you don't have long control, you're stuck on the A bomb site. So what happens is if you don't have any nades and the CTs come in and they throw 1 flashbang, you're gonna have to peek whenever you have the opportunity. Otherwise, you're just gonna end up getting rolled over.
Here we go. Luminosity with Taco charging forward. Fur has himself the frag onto JW. Krims is going to have to level up those numbers as Olofmeister does dispatch a Fur elsewhere. Krims waits for his opportunity, let both players come out and then struck them down. Taco finishes off onto Flusha as LG have just 1 man left standing. It's Colvera up against Olof, Krims, and Dennis. And here he is, in on that A site, trying to make a game of it, but with only 6 points of health left, he will be dropped. Talk us about that B assault because you were not happy there.
No, I mean, I understand that the way that they thought it, because they actually smoked off Plat. So you see here, Krims actually getting completely flashed, and he was actually running with the back of it. But this is like 1-on-1 basic. You have to cover, you have to clear the corners, right? You don't end up doing that, and he ends up just getting both. If you actually cleared the corner, he would have been dead because Krims was so flashed, he didn't see anything.
Well, that might just be why the scoreline is what it is. 14-0 Fnatic. Victory for them would set up a mouth-watering tie against NIP, who defeated Envy just before this, if you weren't joining. And, well, for Luminosity, it doesn't get any easier. Defeat here would set them up against the current HLTV ranked number 1 side. FNX and Fallen, the last 2 players standing in this first half that has been, well, painful to say the least for Brazilian fans. Fallen 1-on-2 though. This might be an opportunity for him to deliver. He has the bomb, was pushed off that site by that Molotov there, but just escaped. Has 55 seconds to play with as well, and only a slither of health of Olofmeister, but before I can set the situation, it's over. And Fallen's down. Fnatic have a perfect first half against Luminosity.
Yeah, and I'm actually starting to wonder if we're gonna see 2 16-0s today, and obviously both versus Americans. South Americans 16-0, and then obviously Liquid got 16-0 before, earlier today versus TSM. And TSM, I mean, overall, just to talk about them, had a great showing today, especially on their T sides. I think it was something like, for 2 maps, they won 27 T rounds. That's absurd.
A lot of people were expecting with, you know, Flair players like yourself going over to North America that maybe the standard would, you know, would rise.
No, it's just gonna get lower. I don't do anything, Stuart.
Now that you've gone to the retirement home of professional gaming?
Yes, exactly, yeah. That's exactly what happens.
You should live in Florida.
Sounds nice, actually.
Anyway.
We're not there yet, Stuart. I need time.
Dennis does damage to Colvera there in mid as now Taco has the urge to peek onto JW, who doesn't like it very much at all. And the 2 players on B will retreat in, and just warning shots fired apiece.
Fnatic here is just going to brute their force way out of on the A bomb side here. Flusha has one flashbang, and that's it. So you can't really do anything else with it. Just have to flash over here and just storm the site, get the bomb down, and just try and hold the after plan.
Well, there are 3 players looking at that A site for Luminosity. Fallen for on 2 of them, as you've seen. FNX gets himself the frag onto Olafmeister and Fur now to be called into action against that very same man. But Dennis is going to get the kill. Crims will escort Flusher in with that bomb and will help himself to the frag of Fallen as well. Can he get any more for his troubles? You bet he can. FNX down and Crims now with 2 teammates up against the remaining 2 Brazilians. He and Flusher go out, and that is going to be our second 16-0 of the day. Perhaps not the event we were hoping for, but Fnatic send a sign across to all the other teams.
Yeah, and just to compare the game when TSM takes Liquid earlier today, this was, I mean, I would say this was more of a beating because Luminosity didn't even get a payout. They weren't even close to winning a single round. It was always, you know, Fnatic had 3 or 4 people alive every single round, and that's considering that you changed 2 players and you said we need more firepower, and then you end up playing this game and you have no firepower.
Harsh words from Fiflaren.
It's the truth. Well, and again, I mean, keep in mind, yeah, they've only been this is the first game that they ever played with one another, right? So then you can't expect too much, but it's just that you still have to have the fundamentals in the team to actually be able to do something, because there you didn't have anything. You were just running on mofo.
Well, from their perspective, it only gets harder. They've got to face Envy next. Any hope?
No.
And then we're going to throw it over actually to the main stage because Dennis is going to share his words with us.
That is indeed correct. Thank you very much, Stu. Dennis, I mean, technically, score-wise, that was a perfect game, but did you guys play a perfect, you know, game of Counter-Strike, or could it have been improved?
We had a perfect team play, I guess.
Yeah. So you do feel that there wasn't really much you could have done better in that match?
No, not really.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now you've played, have you played LG before in your old rosters on G2, and or have you had any experience playing them before?
Yeah, we practiced a lot when I played in G2, so.
Yeah, and so how did it feel with their 2 new players? Did it feel a lot easier? Did they feel disjointed?
I don't think they've played too much together, so it's hard to say, really. It was a best of 1, so you never know.
And yourself, are you settling into the team well then? Because it looks like you've got great chemistry with the guys, of course, you and Olafmeister go way back, and you're performing well. It doesn't seem like you're having that kind of settling in period with the team. You're straight away firing off on all cylinders.
No, it's easy to play with them. They're really good, so you just adapt very fast.
And so you are happy then on this new squad. Your brother Olaf is looking on very proudly at you like a father or something.
Yeah. It feels good.
But now, what's happening next? If I'm not mistaken, you guys are going to have a treat in store, at least the audience. You're about to play NiP in a certain amount of time, not exactly sure.
Yeah, we're going to play NiP, and it's going to be good.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that you guys have a good shot? Like, going off that match, it looks like you guys are in a perfect position, but they also had a very strong game against Envious.
Yeah, I think we will win. Yeah?
Any particular, would you like to elaborate on that?
No, not really. We will win.
Okay, cool. All right, well, Dennis, thank you so much for your time. I'll let you run off now. We appreciate it. Audience, make sure you stick around. We've got another awesome match coming up, which, of course, Sweden versus Sweden. If you want to give them a round of applause, go for it. Remember, if you're watching, to check out theScore eSports app, one of our brilliant sponsors making this event possible. You can see all the live results for eSports titles and all the best and up-to-date news. Right now, though, we are going to head